palais is right up ahead. Come on.
Halt! Please state your business here. The Chief Justice is presently out.
This place does look pretty heavily guarded.
Hey, don't you recognize us?
Huh? Who are you? Just to be clear, I don't care who you are or who you might...
See? They've got great discipline, too.
Yep. Paimon can tell.
If you're here just to crack jokes, I can point you towards the exit.
No. What I meant to say is, shouldn't you remember us from a few days ago? We were at the track.
Oh, yes, I remember. I read about it in the Steambird. You must be Linny's...
We're here today to report and archive some information on a follow-up case.
Huh. Is that even a thing?
Of course. Don't worry. We're here on official business. You can trust us.
All right then, I'll let you through. The Chief Justice is just inside.
Thanks so much.
Please come in.
Sorry to barge in, Monsieur Nervalet.
It's all right. Please let me know how I'm...
So you're not mad?
We're looking for a man called Vacher. He may have been an eyewitness in the serial disappearances case.
Ah, I see. In that case, please wait here a moment.
Who knew that Nervalet would be so easy to talk to?
Unfortunately, I'm quite certain that no one by the name of Vacher has been involved in any case, criminal or civil. There are no records of him either in the files or in my memory.
Traveler, what if it was really just a dream?
Is that so? All right then. Thank you so much, Miss...
Ahem. Miss Navia, I can understand how you feel. Your father, Callus, was a truly exceptional man.
And what are you trying to say, Monsieur Novit? Are you trying to console me? Extend your sympathy? Or just... No. You are not trying to do any of that. I can hear it in your voice. There's no emotion behind your... It's just like last time. After my father took his place in the duelist ring, I pushed through the guards to talk to you as a last resort. You even told me then that you thought there was something fishy with the case, yet you still allowed the duel to go ahead. In your eyes, the value of a human life is nothing compared to those cold laws you hold so dear. If you truly regret my father's death, then why didn't you call a stop? Why didn't you give me the power to stop him from throwing his life away? Why did you just let him? Everything was hanging on a thread at that moment. Just that there are still so many things I never got to tell him. So many questions. If you really have no heart, then just look me in the eyes.
I'm sorry, Miss Navia.
You and my father are truly alike. You keep all kinds of things in your heart. It's not so much that you can't feel, but that you would never express. Oh well. In any case, everyone already knows full well the apathy of my apologies for taking my emotions out on you, Monsieur Chief Justice. Let's go, Traveler and Paimon.
Lluvia, are you okay?
I'm fine. Rain. It's raining.
You're right. Wasn't it still sunny when we went into the building? And there shouldn't be any active traffic.
Now that I think of it, on the day my father was convicted of murder, it was also raining.
What is it? Did you think of something?
Yeah, he was outside. It was uncovered and the rain could fall there. Why? Do you think the rain could have affected the crime? That thought has occurred to us before. We've even expanded the search area to try to account for that, but didn't find anything of value. Oh? Wait. You don't mean...
So you're saying that the true murderer could have been turned into water? Yeah. And if that's what had happened, then no one would have believed your dad, even if he...
I really think I found a true genius for a part. All right, let's go to Poisson. With this new lead in mind, we'll get to the...
Yeah, we're gonna make progress for sure this time.
Do you want to go with me now? Or do you want to head over by yourself? Great. Let's go then.
Whoa, what a huge ship! Why would a...
There's no need to be so surprised. While it may look like a ship, my father was the one who asked for it to be built like this. Perhaps our taste in exterior design is the only thing we occasionally had in common. A gigantic and glamorous ship embodies discovery, opportunity, ambition, and conquest. It symbolizes Spina di Rosula's bright and
And Paimon thought you were bluffing when you said Spina di Rosula had a glorious past. Paimon was confused why a group with such a history would live in the sewers. But now that Paimon has seen this ship for herself, she's been convinced.
Well, Poisson is where Spina di Rosula began, after all. It's our main base. Our
Yep. They might have it good for a while.
I'm just saying,
But it ain't gonna be.
fire, you're gonna get burned.
Melus, we're back!
Apologies for the wait, demoiselle, and our most... You said before that you still had some business at the court. What brings you back?
About that. It's because my partner here reminded me of something really important. You see, you still remember, right, Melus? On that night, it was...
Yes, the case was quite similar to that of Mr. Linney's. Both were what you'd call...
Could you tell us a bit more about what happened before?
Yeah, of course. many years ago, something called synth. At a glance, it was a kind of drink that could excite your mood.
Wait! Didn't that guard guy who turned into water also mention that the primordial water could be used to produce some kind of potion?
Yes, he did. Considering what we know now, it's almost certain that synth is created using water from the primordial sea. If you drink synth for an extended amount of time, you'll suffer many side effects, such as losing the ability to focus or control your emotions. And if you were to stop drinking it completely, you'll experience flashes of paranoia and anxiety, while lacking energy to do anything. As he oversaw Poisson, my father was compelled to put a stop to synth abuse, and called for a complete ban of it.
Boss's uncompromising attitude incurred the synth vendor's wrath. But not only that, Boss became determined to find the master.
Yes, but the enemy was very cunning. So he could never get recognizing that. My father decided to contact the dealers in secret. The man's name was Jacques. He felt greatly ashamed about it that night. My father hosted a banquet at his countryside estate. He planned to meet up and exchange information with Jacques over. But then, we heard 2 gunshots from the courtyard. We raced to the scene and found my father.
Huh? How did that happen? Aren't they on the same side?
Sounds just like Lenny's case, doesn't it? In both cases, the culprit seemed obvious, but neither appeared to have any motive at all. Looking back on it, though, I now believe the most important...
Precisely. It's all thanks to you that I made the connection now.
But, considering it now, it's almost certain that they belong to a third person at the scene. With one extra person, we'll also need to reconsider why the 2 You're right. We still don't know what happened. But my intuition tells me that we're on the right track to figure...
Jacques was an empathetic man who was infinitely remorseful for his past actions. It's unlikely that he turned on... I think this third person is probably the key to the full truth. On that note, however, even though this will not please you, demoiselle, as our opponent is insidious and cruel. They are extremely difficult to deal with, and Boss has already lost his life. Even though Spina de Rosula has lost most of its... has welcomed a new time of peace. There is no need to follow your father's path. It would be both wise and in line with Boss's wishes to step back and give up on the case.
If that's indeed what he wished for, then he should have told me that himself. Was I not the closest person to him? And yet, I was the one most kept. What was the point of him dying without sharing any of the secrets he knew? Did he manage? Synth is still here. Callus the Unfaithful is still his epithet. And Spina di Rosula is barely getting by. Did he think I'd just accept his meaningless death and live out my life just as meaninglessly? I've never accepted that. Ever. Not since that day, and certainly not now. I want to find out the real answer for everyone's sake. For the missing girls, for the victim.
Lluvia.
This is indeed the best moment to act. Your partner appears to be quite reliable, and more important...
So you do know something else, Malus?
Yes, I do. In fact, even before that banquet, Boss already knew of the connection between Synth and the serial disappearances. But what drove all the tensions to the boiling point was the revelation that you, demoiselle, had been...
What?
Boss also didn't tell you that he... and the serial disappearances case caused him great... 5 years was nowhere near enough time to resolve this long-standing conflict. But once knowing all of this, he decided to use one final intimidation tactic before his death. He claimed to have already gotten his hands on some... But as long as you remained safe, he would not share the evidence with the public. If something were to happen to you, then he and all those he told would immediately expose all they knew about Synth and the disappeared victims.
Right, so nobody would be able to get off.
As we've seen, Boss's tactic has worked. Even though Boss has been gone for a long time, the other side has not...
No, I don't believe it. He never appeared to look sick.
No father wants their daughter to see them weak and haggard, especially someone as proud as Boss. To him, dying in a duel and suffering lasting dishonor as the unfaithful were still...
So he chose to die in silence.
I'm afraid you're not understanding this correctly, demoiselle. What Boss wanted to hand to you was not a parasol, but if Boss's spirit could hear you telling me that you want to find the answer for the sake of everyone involved, I'm sure he'd be extremely...
That fool. No. He might have set up everything precisely because he never thought I'd be able to understand him. Is that the amount of confidence he had in me? And what if I was never able to make it to where I am now? Yeah. I suppose that's true. With the way he'd set things up, if I had wanted, but thankfully, he rarely talked to me about complex matters, and thus understood little of me as a person. And, Malus, what was the key evidence that he—
It's the location where synth is produced. Essentially, it's the enemy's headquarters. When he was threatening the enemy, Boss didn't share the specifics of the incriminating evidence he found. But if you want to use it against the enemy, you'll still...
Why? If we know where the place is, can't we just go storm?
You mustn't forget that we're fighting against a mysterious and dangerous organization that's been in operation for decades. There's no telling what might be lying in wait at their headquarters. We also have no idea what kind of evidence we may be able to find inside, nor what people we may be... But a single visit to their headquarters would be tantamount to a formal declaration of war. The worst case would be that we leave empty-handed, but also open ourselves up to full retaliation.
Then, in that case, why not work with the Fontaine authorities?
Well, you saw one of them dissolve during Mr. Linney's case. We have no idea just how thoroughly they may...
That's true. But things are different now. It should be a lot easier to prove the other side's guilt, now that we've connected Synth with a disappearance.
You sound like you've put a lot of thought into this.
I am the butler, after all. I live but to serve the boss and Demoiselle's will. I've always been willing to take on any kind of risk for your sake. But considering my relative lack of ability, I've spent my time keeping secrets, performing basic investigations, and... Wait.
Thank you for all of that, Malus. Have you discovered anything new in the...
Let me think. One conclusion I came to was that the enemy must be quite familiar with Spina di Rosula, or at least have an When I announced orders to the organization's members on Demoiselle's behalf, I used to deliberately keep a few people in the dark and observe. If the vendors didn't change their plans, then the individuals informed of our orders must be innocent. If the vendors packed up and fled, however, after several rounds of testing and investigative tracing, I've narrowed the suspect list down to 3. The first is Florent, Spina di Rosula's senior advisor.
Huh?
Yes, surprising, isn't it? He was one of the people Boss trusted the most, which also means that he was someone who understood Boss really well. Thanks to his position within Boss's innermost circle, he always knew our upcoming plans and could thus... There's someone else like him too. Marcel, the head of Confrérie of Cabrières.
Uncle Marcel.
It's a guild in Poisson. Boss helped it to grow to its current size and prominence. In the beginning, they were only reselling some daily goods, but now they're one of the richest guilds around with a lot of business connections.
So, they're like a sister organization of Spina di Rosula?
Yes, you can say that. When we were fighting against the synth dealers, they provided us with... It's a bit difficult to imagine someone using their own money to hunt down themselves.
The final suspect is Thierry, the man responsible for coordinating information between... Although the guards mostly leave us to our own devices, there are still many activities. Since Thierry is always in the know about our current activities, he could theoretically...
I see. These are all to think that the enemy we've been fighting against has been right next to me all along, among those I trust the most.
If you want to investigate them, please take every precaution to not alert the quarry. Judging from our
Of course. And thank you, Malus.
You're too kind, my lady. I'm just doing my... And before I forget, proving Boss's innocence would also mean clearing him of blame in Jacques' death. After that incident, Jacques' wife and daughter were taken into the Spina's care. They still live in Poisson today. If it might help, you could also pay them a visit. I can make the necessary arrangements.
Aw, thank you so much, Malus. You really are the best.
A new case awaits, my dear partner. I hope we can work together to uncover the truth and end this case once and for all.
It is settled, then. Please excuse me, and enjoy your conversation at your leisure.
Thank you for arranging everything for us, Malus.
Excuse me, miss. Do you need anything from us?
Hey, Navia's all quiet. This isn't like her at all.
I'm sorry that I only came to visit after all this time.
If it's about that, there's no need to apologize. After my husband died, Spina di Rosula sent us a lot of mora and support. I understood your guilt and
But aren't all of those things nothing compared to the loss of Jacques? I can understand the kind of pain that comes with losing a father so needlessly.
You don't understand at all.
I didn't know how to face you, because I didn't know what I could possibly bring as a consolation. I know only the full truth could bring closure to
I'm sorry. I appreciate the sentiment, but you don't have to carry all that guilt. On the matter regarding my husband, my daughter and I have more or less found...
Would you mind sharing it with me? I really can't believe...
I always knew that my husband's money was earned through others' suffering. He told me countless times that if he could turn back the clock, he had many regrets, and felt that he took the idea of providing for his family too literally. For the longest time, so when Mr. Callis came to him with a proposal, he accepted it almost. He tried to be as careful as he could, but even so...
They found out about...
Papa didn't say that exactly, but Papa did tell me that I should never be ungrateful.
Before he left that day, he told me that he had no choice. It was only later that I realized it was his final farewell to the two of us. I don't know that for sure, but you could say that's... Which is why I'm the one who should feel guilty. Callis had always taken great care of us, both when he was still... Even if he fired the shot that killed my husband, it was likely in...
But Mama, why is Papa still the bad guy? If he did the right... Papa always wanted to be a good man, so why did he have to do...
Well, things aren't always as they seem. You still feel like your papa was...
Yeah, Papa was a really good man.
Then you should hold on to that. If a good man had to do a bad thing, regardless of whether he left you a parasol or a sword, he must have done so.
Oh.
Thank you for everything you've told me. I will definitely find the truth. The current state of...
Thank you. I'm very grateful. Even though your personality is quite different from your father's, your determination when you speak.
You really think so? That's the first time anyone said that.
Are you okay, Navia?
I'm fine. Don't worry. Let's investigate the 3 suspects next. Florent should be nearby, and we should be able to find Thierry and Uncle Marcel in the city.
Greetings, boss. How may I be of assistance today?
I'm sure you've heard about what happened at the Opera House. Someone got turned...
Yeah, I've heard. With something that dramatic, I'm sure journalists will...
It also reminded me, on the day that the incident happened with after my partner here put the dots together for me, I feel like Can you do me a favor and try to recall what happened that night?
Let me think. Mr. Callis was feeling pretty... After that, he told us that he wanted to go get some fresh air. So we let him go. My first reaction was that Mr. Callis's life was in danger. So I grabbed my holster But when I got there, it was already too late. Mr. Callis was standing over a dead body with a gun in it.
So you also remember 2 gunshots then?
Indeed. The guards said that the first shot didn't hit anyone, while the second killed Jacques. But reason being, Mr. Callis had left his gun on the table. But according to the guards, that doesn't mean he couldn't have had other guns on his person. About the clothes left at the scene that you mentioned, do you think there was a third person there who was turned into water?
At least from our perspective, my father had no reason to kill. So he would also have no reason to bring an extra gun with him. The gun he was holding probably belonged to Jacques. Or a third...
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're saying Mr. Callis ended up with the gun because he seized it from one of the... But hold on. If that's what had happened, then he didn't even want to face the Oratrice machine, and chose instead to prove his honor in a duel. Did he lose all faith in the courts after seeing someone dissolve right in front of his eyes?
About that, Malouse told me a thing or two. So, I'll tell you everything once the whole truth has been...
I understand. Then, I'll leave Mr. Callis's honor in your hands, boss. And if I may just say one more thing. The whole Callis, Many people have laughed at me for still calling him Mr. Callis, even after so many years, but it was Mr. Callis's trust that allowed me to rise through the ranks of Spina di Rosula and live the life no matter what others might say. He'll always be the man I respect the most. And he'll...
Don't worry. I will definitely find the truth. You and all our other comrades at the Spina deserve to know... Hey, Thierry! It's me!
Oh, now, what brings you here, Miss Navia? I've heard that you may...
Oh, so you've got news of that already.
Oh, okay. Hey, I'm also a member of the guards, you know. The way you make it sound, people...
Are you sure there isn't a little bit of truth in that? Under normal circumstances, shouldn't you...
I mean, where I work is really up to me. Callis did a fantastic job running the town, building Spina di Rosula from the ground up and clearing many obstructions in my way. It would be next to impossible for me to find a similarly easy but high-paying... Anyway, enough chit-chat. Are these 2 friends of yours? You, here for some formal business?
Yes. These 2 are my... What happened at the Opera House made us realize that Linny's case and my father's may be related. We're trying to
I get it. You think there might be more to the case now that we know people can be dissolved into water, right? If you want to go through the original files from your father's case, I can help you look for them.
That'd be much appreciated. Thank you. Actually, I have another question.
Of course. Without them, I couldn't possibly... Why do you ask? We definitely can't use them to forcefully get...
Well, You see, just recently, we were attacked by a horde of unnumbered. So, if you hypothetically wanted to do something against me, all you would need to do is get rid of the.
Then you think too highly of my abilities. Dispatching mecha is very different from control. If I had to make an analogy, when you order a dish, the chef will make it for you. If you try to make unreasonable demands, the chef would just think you're out of your mind and ignore you. Removing a serial number is also not as easy as you might think. There are a lot of... So I can promise you, those mecha were definitely private units. They're certainly not cheap. So, whoever their owner is must be super rich, powerful, or both. Now that you mention it, though...
Oh, then you're officially in the clear, Thierry.
Oh, well, thank you for the vote of confidence, Navia. Jokes aside, I'd like to wish you all the best with your investigation. I'll be staying in the city for a little while, so just come find me if you need any support from the guards.
Hello. How may I help you? I'm here to see Marcel. Could you please let him know? You can just say Navia's looking for him. Sure. I will let him know right away.
Navia, hello. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm not as young as I used to be, so my legs are giving...
Oh, it's all right, Uncle Marcel. I just wanted to talk to you briefly about what happened in the Opera House. I'm sure you saw everything.
Yes, I've never seen anything so strange.
Oh, you were at the Opera House.
That's right. I went there with Navia to see the magic show. Who knew it would... I also witnessed your marvelous sleuthing work. Quite impressive. To beat the Hydro Archon at her own game on her own turf, I can already imagine everyone in Fontaine
Oh, Paimon doesn't want to become the talk of drunkards.
Apologies. It's just how Fontaine is as an...
Uncle Marcel, you've also noticed that other thing, right? The fact that...
Yes. I was reminded of your father's case right away. Is that what you're investigating now?
Exactly. I still don't have much solid proof, but I can sense that the other...
Oh, and what...
We were attacked on Araneus by some unnumbered Gardamex. And there was also an attempt to get me to... If not for the vigilance of my partner, I probably wouldn't even be...
Oh, you're giving us too much credit. Wasn't it you who protected us?
Alas, it seems things are heating up again. The peace that Callus sought so dearly will soon become a thing of the... But rest assured, Navia, Poisson will always remain a safe haven for you. If you're scared, if anyone dares to lay their hands on you there, the Confrérie of Cabrières will use its funds to the last...
Thank you, Uncle Marcel. But I don't intend to go into hiding. Do you have any new thoughts on my father's case?
About that. Sorry, my age is catching up with me. The Confrérie was responsible for that banquet, so I was out and about the whole time making sure things were running. Then I heard the sound of a gunshot, and the rest was history.
Oh, it's okay. No need to push yourself. We'll ask around some more. See if there are any valuable...
Sounds good. Just let me know if you ever need Mora. All my wealth comes from Callus's patronage and support. I'll spend however much it takes to clear his name.
We've talked to all 3 suspects, purely based on their conversations with me.
None of them sounded particularly suspicious.
I suppose that's to be expected, though. If a single conversation's all that's needed to find them out, then my father wouldn't have needed to Anyway, even though we didn't make a breakthrough, let's still compile what we were able to find.
But where should we start? Ah, you're right! Flora mentioned that Callus probably only ended up with the gun because of circumstance.
According to Jacques' family members, he already told them that he had been discovered, and that he had no choice before he left home that day. If I had to guess, he probably received an order from the synth boss to kill my father.
So, Jacques fired the first shot?
Oh? And why is that?
Ooh, that's a good point. Jacques probably already knew that he was just being used as a tool for murder. And
So, what would make more sense from his perspective would be to turn his back on the order and seek protection from my... Makes sense. But without evidence, that's still just a theory. Besides Jacques, the attack from the Gardamex has been bothering me quite a bit as well. It's obvious that our enemy has become more antsy after the secret of the primordial seawater was revealed.
do you think he knew even then that we'd follow this lead to the end?
Given everything that's happened since, it's quite possible. But who among the 3 suspects would have the ability to control privately owned Gardamex? Thierry, you say? Huh. It is pop, but I didn't feel like he was lying when he was talking to us about the mecha. I also don't think he'd be able to keep that kind of tampering under wraps.
Yeah, had he actually tampered with the mecha, we'd be able to prove it with a simple check of the guard's inventory. If the mecha were taken from the guards, it should be pretty easy to find out when and how that happened.
Florent? It is true that he was closest to my father, but as Spina di Rosula's advisor, his work mostly deals with personnel and security, so he shouldn't have much means when it comes to finances.
So you're saying he's too broke to afford a mecha army?
Exactly. He can't. And even if he could, I don't think he would be able to dispatch... Uncle Marcel? My father did really trust, and with funds from the Confrérie, he could also afford a large number of Gardamex. It's still really hard for me to imagine, though. After all, also, wouldn't this mean he has been spending a whole lot of mora and energy to fight his own synth? Who could it be? You know, if you think everything through...
Could we be missing other suspects? Malus didn't know about the people turning into water thing when he narrowed it down to these 3, did he?
Malus has always been very reliable, and his judgment of others' trustworthiness has been fair. The suspect is knowledgeable about the Spina's internal affairs, has the means to dispatch Mecha to assassinate us, and possesses significant intellect. Even if I don't want to believe it, I'm starting to see how things could all tie back.
Well, we still have another trump card on top of all the theorizing and speculating.
Yes, Malus did say that charging straight in there would be extremely risky. But we need far more solid proof before we can hope to go charging in on our enemy.
Navia, here you are. Oh, I've been...
Huh? Aren't you the guy from the guards? Did some...
Yeah. News came from... after you left. We've got another trial on our hands.
Wasn't that place built specifically for holding trials? What's so newsworthy about this one?
I know. But they said the person they're putting on trial is a Fatui harbinger called Tartaglia.
What? Is that someone you know?
Yeah, we know him. Maybe even a little too well.
Well, he's been accused of being the true culprit behind the serial disappearances case. It's absurd, don't you think?
Wait, how? None of our investigations have had anything to do with him.
That's what I thought was strange about it, so I came to tell you the news right away. If the charge against him stands, then it'll be next to impossible to get the guards to support any of our planned investigations.
Right, because they'll think they've already found the culprit.
Yeah, and it'll be a lot harder then to clear Mr. Callus's name.
I understand. Well, partner? Huh? Split up? What do you mean? Just as expected of my partner. Since this is a trial about the serial disappearances case, the culprit's attention will be focused on Irenaeus. You're right. This is our best opportunity. All right then, let's do this. Also, I won't have any chance of making that charge stick though, unless we find more evidence. It'll be up to you to make it back in time.
We'll help you, just like you helped us in Lenny's trial.
Demoiselle, please allow us to accompany you.
I'm ready.
Ah, Malou, Silver.
We heard that you'll be leaving Poisson and figured that it's our hope that your confidence will be bolstered with...
Thank you so much. Then, let's make haste.
See you then! Now that Navia has set out for Irenaeus, we should also get going. The location has already been marked on the map, so let's head over.